We are in episode 50. Is this episode 50? No, it's episode 51.
51.
Thomas,
51.
John, the
Eric.
crew, back together again for another
Yes.
fantastic conversation of whatever we talk about.
It'll be a conversation. I don't know about fantastic.
I just ran out of steam. I got off to a good start and withered out.
He burnt bread, but he burned fast. I have some. I want to start it off with some great news.
Wow, Tom is just jumping into this.
Right into
Go
it. Right
ahead,
into
my
it. We're trendy.
Well,
We're
we knew
trendy?
that.
Oh,
I'm
no.
sorry.
I've been telling my kids
Trend.
this I've been telling my kids this for years. I'm like, you got to dress more like your pops, man. I'm setting the style, man.
Yeah. All Diego Dev all the time.
That's great. Pretty much.
All the time.
No, we are listed in the popular podcasts on programmingpodcast.com.
It was pretty cool, right?
Yeah. We're sitting pretty there.
I think it's a fluke thing. I think we're probably the last ones they added. And it does
They forgot to update it.
Yeah,
but
so
we
some
did-
kind of integer rollover issue.
We've been there for a couple of days, so I'm pretty proud of the fact. It looks like in a pretty official site. Our name is on it under popular podcast, right there by Full Stack Radio with Adam Wathan, Reactive, which it's reactive, so it's not like a real programming language. It's
No. Although as
But yeah.
PHP developers, we have to be careful when we say that. People get angry.
But yeah, I thought that was cool. I stumbled across that. Somebody had recommended that we be added to the site. I saw it on Twitter, and I popped over. Not only were we added, but we were in the popular podcasts section. I don't know how they do their analytics, or like I said, if it's just like a random
Well,
thing,
clearly
I
they
know.
don't. Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty cool. I enjoyed it. I took a couple screenshots.
A couple.
I'm gonna get them made into posters and put them on my wall behind me.
But who would have thought there were 211 programming podcasts? That's a lot.
Yeah, that's too
I
much.
can't begin to tell you. I mean, how many PHP podcasts? I was looking at my podcasts. I use a pod. What do I use? Pocket Podcasts to listen. I'm a podcast listener. I mean, I've told you guys this in the past. And somebody started publishing. I saw you could publish from that application your list of podcasts. And I just published mine. And even the limited ones that I listen to, which is a fair amount, but I just can't believe what the selection that's out there now. Not only are there a lot of podcasts out there, but just good quality podcasts. Like, people are putting time into putting these podcasts together. Good conversation. I mean, then you got scrubs like us, but no.
Yeah, hopefully one day we'll put in our time and effort.
There's just so many in every language, every platform. Just about everything you can think of has a good pool of podcasts out there right now. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I enjoyed it. I like seeing things like that. I like hearing from people on Twitter who listen to our show and reach out to us. I enjoy that stuff. It's fun to me. I like it.
It gets
Yeah, so
really
far it
fun
hasn't
when you go
been-
out somewhere. Sorry. It gets fun when you go out somewhere and you get recognized too, which we do have the YouTube stream so people could see us. But that was one of the fun things when I did the bowling podcast years ago, and we go to a trade show and have kids run up and say, "I listen to you." I'm like, "Whoa, what?" Had no
Don't do
clue.
that.
How's Colorado going for you, Thomas?
It is wonderful. I haven't left the house I can't even remember.
Well, it can't be much more than a week because that's all you've been there.
No, it's been about a week. No, I love it here, man. It's nice, crisp, cool air. It snows every once in a while, but it's just like enough to purely decorate the landscape. It doesn't have any negative effect in any way. So we'll get like a half an inch, and it'll just go cover the trees and cover the brown grass and look pretty for long enough to take a picture, and then it's gone.
You find a user group out there yet? Have you found some people to get out and
Oh.
socialize with?
No, there. There's like 10 meetups for entrepreneurs, which is like the opposite of the kind of meetup I want to go to. And there's nothing for PHP. There's some security stuff. There's this and that, but
John, lay the line on it. Lay the line on him.
If there's not a user group near you, congrats, you're it.
Yeah. You are now the organizer of the user group.
Yes. You can put the antisocial agoraphobe in charge of your user meetup.
Cal Evans would be proud of you.
That's right.
Aww.
You've done it before. Don't act like you haven't done it before.
I have. I just don't want to do it right now. I only got one car, and I'm enjoying having time to myself, not having to schedule.
I'm enjoying not going to meetups right now.
So, are you back to work?
I am. I'm back at work. Just in time for my boss to take a ski vacation in Colorado.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's 3 hours north of me. So
Thomas, you'd be proud. I finally got back to the meetup, to the Laravel meetup last week.
Oh yeah, you showed up?
I did show up for half of it.
Didn't we talk about this, Thomas?
No.
Well, we did talk about it. You just didn't pay attention.
We got
hammered.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I don't know what happened, but before the meetup, I had a few too many, and I got halfway through the meetup. I walked outside because it was nice and cool outside. I walked around a little bit. I text Eric, and he's like, "Well, the pizza's here now." So I'm like, that's what I need. So I run back up. I eat a couple pieces of pizza, and before I know it, I'm like, I can't do it anymore. I walked outside, and I left
everything behind. Left his phone behind, his computer, his bag. He just disappeared.
I went. Here's the funny part. I go out to the parking lot. I'm like, I got to do something. This is bad. I jogged across the parking lot and back, and then just sat down on a cold stone bench for however long it was. It was so bad.
The meetup ends. It's over. We do the after conversation, talking, socializing thing. Everybody's walking out. I'm like, I don't know. Grab his bag. Let's just see where he's at. He comes stumbling out of this bush, hair all mangled, and
wife threw me out of the car.
No, we Ubered it to the. Well, we didn't Uber it. We had one of our fellow partners, friends, drove us to the meetup and drove us back to the where the cars are left. So it was fun though. I enjoyed it.
What you remember of it?
Yeah. Okay, so
I remember way too much of it.
Since we went down this section, I'm going to put John on the spot a little bit because I've got to be honest with you. We've John and I have been friends for a while, and obviously we like each other. We like how we enjoy working together. So we started Diego Dev, and that's all been fine, dandy. And John and I have worked on several projects together, and some good, some bad, and sometimes we code together. Sometimes, most of the times we don't. Like John and I actually very rarely code on the same project, or most times if we're working on a project, it's in a management position or something like that. One of us will typically code, but we don't do a lot of hardcore coding anymore. And we have had together. Yeah, at least together. The last couple days have been such a challenge.
Are you guys getting a divorce?
No, but one of our clients, we had a big effort with the client. A lot of things have gone sideways with it, and John, and this is a project John really didn't have a lot of exposure to the code recently. I mean, he did years ago, but he got back involved, sat back that. I got to tell you what, I forget what a fantastic developer John is. And I'm not just saying that because he's here, or because he's my business partner, because he's my friend. I am literally amazed to watch this guy break down code, break down database schemas, connect dots, follow logic that he never wrote, that was poorly constructed to begin with. Follow that logic, find bugs. That's all this guy has done for the last 2 days. Or find these gaps in code, find where things had been done incorrectly or where things were breaking, and fix it. And we're talking about a huge code base that's very complex. And it's like watching. I was telling my client today, we were chatting. I'm like, watching John code on this problem is like some next level shit, man. I mean, this guy is like out. He's out of his mind. You really understand what it means to be a professional coder when you see somebody like John doing development.
Wow.
So I wanted to just kind of put that out there. Dude, it's just been amazing watching you work these last couple of days.
Well, I don't know how much credit I can take there outside. I think people have different skill sets, right? There are plenty of developers that are way better than I am, way smarter than I am. But when it comes to debugging shit, I feel that's my wheelhouse. Like I can debug really well. And when he says this code base is horrendous, I mean, very few classes, and the classes that are, well, I can't say very few classes, but the classes that are there are just huge beasts, like functions with 1,000+ lines. It's just a mess. And then it's like, well, where did they get this data? Where did they get that data? And we put somebody in charge of kind of tackling this billing issue, and without knowing the code backwards and forwards, didn't get all the pieces in the right spot. And to his credit, it wasn't 100% his fault, because the previous developers did some backward ass shit. I mean, there's supposed to be data in 2 columns in a table, and then in another piece of code it says, well, if that data is not there, let's go and try and just figure it out from over here.
Oh, you're hurting me.
Well, the problem was the developer only saw the hack part, so that's the only piece they knew about. So I was like, wait, that's not supposed to be there. It's not been a fun couple of days, that's for sure. Billing is never fun to mess with.
No, billing is the second worst.
And what I feel so horrible about is knowing what needed to be done. We're basically just moving merchant accounts, right? We're going from this authorized .NET account to that one,
Sure.
which should be super simple.
It's just an ID number.
Yeah, and then they use the customer information manager. So that's just addresses and credit card profiles in authorized.net. We got all of that data from them and put it into the new account, right? So there's this mirroring of data. So I kept assuring the client, all we're doing is updating data. You update the data, everything will run fine. No. We run it, it blows up. We had a rollback plan. The developer executed that rollback plan, but again, not knowing how crappy this code was, forgot to update a field. So the way the previous developers wrote it, if billing fails this month, they schedule it for next month to be billed twice. He didn't realize that. So when he moved the billing back, He moved the billing date back to this month to rerun it. The people that were successful got billed twice.
Yeah,
That's
it's been
usually
a
not
rough
good.
couple days.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm giving way too much detail. I'm trying to express how horrible this code was, and what a nightmare we've had trying to rectify these issues.
Yeah,
That
And it's
doesn't
still
sound-
not done.
yeah, we're still working. We're still working through it.
We're about 48 hours into it, and it's still not right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, there's a new tool out there to actually to smooth along moving from one framework to a new framework.
Oh yeah. Can I
Do
can I use
tell.
can I use
I
that?
think Thomas is done with their little
He's like, will you
gripe
stop here?
session.
Will
He's
you
ready
stop
to move on
bitching
with
and
the
moaning?
show.
Yeah. The part of the uninterested listener in this episode is played by me. No, I know. I mean, I've worked with those monstrous code bases before.
Oh no! Move on to the freaking show notes, you bitch.
Well, this is your show note.
Is it?
Yeah, I was just trying to derail you.
You did a great job. Yeah.
We appreciate that. I would have
All
gone
right.
on too long.
Let's get into
I
the
already had.
news. Good God! I guess.
Hey, what's going
something's
on in the PHP world right now?
Laravel Shift. I missed. So we've been so busy with this problem with this client. I actually missed my recording today with LaraChat Live podcast, which is I actually look forward to doing that one. Just kidding, guys. I love you guys.
He's
I
not
do,
kidding.
really.
He's not-
No.
He tried to get out of this
But-
recording.
I don't blame him.
on the show today, they had Jason, the creator of Laravel Shift. He was on the show and talking about Laravel Shift, talking about this new shift, which we'll get into here in a second, talking about his Getting Git series. So I was pretty bummed I missed it. But so Laravel Shift, if you don't know, I've talked about it on shows in the past. We've used it at Diego Dev to move from one version of Laravel to another version of Laravel. I think I've turned Thomas on to trying it. I've actually turned a couple people on to trying it. And typically what you do with Laravel Shift is it'll upgrade your Laravel application for you. That's all fine and dandy. A couple shows back, you might have remembered he's working on a Laravel Shift. I keep saying Laravel Shift. I'm sorry, it's called Shift. He's working on the Shift developer platform where people can write their own shifts for other components, publish them, get paid for it. It's like a revenue sharing thing, or publish them for free.
Yeah.
But he released an interesting shift last week, which was a shift that would convert a Lumen application. And Thomas, what's Lumen?
Lumen is the lightweight framework for Laravel developers.
Right. So it's basically the micro framework, a micro framework version of Laravel, which is really its wheelhouse. What it's targeted for is to write quick API endpoints. It's not really meant to have views associated, although you could. But it's really meant to just create some API endpoints. And I've used it in the past, and I've always struggled where I can never think of a good scenario where I want to just have a Lumen application. But I have had cases where I started with the Lumen application, then I had to move the Lumen application to a Laravel application, and it's not a straightforward copy these files over all the time. Now there's a shift for that. So there's a shift out there that will move a Lumen application over to a Laravel install. Thought that was pretty good. And I hope with that out there, maybe Lumen will get a little bit more traction. Maybe a few more people use it just to kind of get that initial application up, get those endpoints up. And then as the application starts to build out, now that they have a easy way to move over to a full-blown Laravel app, maybe they will. I don't know. But I thought it was cool, so I threw it in the show notes.
I dig it. Yeah, I mean that's really a one framework to a different framework shift. So that's a big move.
Yep. Talking to Jason about because people are always the reason he created the whole Shift developer platform is people are always coming to him with ideas for shifts, and he basically said, they're great ideas. Some of them are niche, some of them aren't. Some of them you could probably make some money on. Others people probably wouldn't pay a lot for. But the reality of it, and what he realizes, he just doesn't have the time to develop them all. And so that's why he started to develop a framework to allow people to develop their own shifts.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out. You actually had a couple of good ideas for shifts as far as upgrading components, maybe some shifts for Vue. It'd be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what people do with that.
Elsewhere in the news, we're looking at Homestead version 5. You guys know any?
Who's still using Homestead?
I think I'm still on Homestead like 1.1.
Yeah, Homestead is the one Laravel project that seems to be adhering to Semver correctly. So this is a major version change, and there are a lot of people out there who are using Homestead not for Laravel. So it'll be interesting to see what effect this has. But so Settler is the image that Homestead uses. So when you're launching Homestead, it launches the Settler image of, I believe, Ubuntu. And Settler has changed. So a couple big things there. The HHVM has been removed completely.
Right, because Laravel stopped supporting it, right? A couple of versions back.
Right, a couple versions back, Laravel said HHVM is no longer, on the board. 7 is too fast. HHVM is not going to catch up anytime soon. The other thing is now, I don't necessarily agree with this, but the UTF-8 MB4 character set is now the default for databases. So what that means for you is that emojis are supported in database.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I'm real excited.
So are you telling me I can put the little poop symbol in my database now?
I'm telling you that you will have no choice. The users will do it for you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Do you have those people in your social networks that just they try to work emojis into their sentence and 5 of the 7 words are freaking emojis?
Yeah, my children.
You want to know how big of an idiot I am? I don't know how to put the goddamn emoji in my tweets, man. I still do the old, I type out the smiley face. How do you put emojis in there? I don't get it.
It's a totally different keyboard.
It's a what?
Different keyboard. On your phone, it's a keyboard that you switch to.
Okay.
You probably have to install it.
Yeah, on PC, you have to find them and then copy and paste them. Or something.
Really, that's how you. The couple times I've done it, that's what I've done. I've found them in other tweets and copied and pasted them because I don't know how the hell to put them in. Yeah,
no, that's it. That's it. We're in the mobile world now, man. Everyone's using their iPhone or their Android to write content, which is awful. Really? So on my iPhone, are those just the smiley face? The smiley faces that I can insert, which I never insert those. I always type it out because I'm old school like that. Well, because why would you? Emoji is stupid. This is true. All right.
Look at it later.
Another big thing is Nginx, Ngrok is now installed by default. And if you don't know what Ngrok is, you're missing out. Ngrok is a tunneling service. Yeah, it's fantastic. And it will let you open up a public share of whatever you're working on in your development environment. So it pokes through your firewall, connects to the Ngrok server, and then hosts it for you through your own web server. So it's a nice little tunneling service that you just run on the command line, and it gives you a link to send out to somebody. And it's great for development when you're working remotely and can't just show somebody something on your own computer.
I actually shared a good.
I actually use it for a service that we provide called Phone Burner, and the the PBX servers talk to the web server. So in development, if you want to do real dials, I had to use my VM that's hosted in their data center, which is always a pain to make sure my code is up to date there. So actually just last week, I got ngrok working where the PBX server talks to my local Vagrant box, which is making development so much nicer again.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember when I was working on those IVR projects, John. That's exactly what I was doing. I was coding the IVR to have the Twilio app have the ability to talk to my development stuff. I did ngrok and had that be the endpoint, and worked out great. I just actually used ngrok this last week to share a file with a couple of developers who needed a file. I'm like, let me just put this in here, and I'll just fire up ngrok, and you guys can download it over HTTPS. And yeah, it's got some pretty good uses for it. I enjoy it.
Yeah, so if you think about it, just beyond letting somebody else see the web server or the web pages on your local environment, there's many other things you can use it for.
Yeah, and there's a free tier and there's a paid tier. I'm a big fan. Besides ngrok, there's a lot of changes in the configuration stuff for Homestead. So this is not just a straight up upgrade. You're going to have to do some tweaking if you have a custom Homestead config. But yeah, that's it for Homestead. It's good to see that
Cool.
it's an active project.
Yeah. Thomas,
Yes,
do
sir.
you remember talking last week? What did we talk about? We said it seemed like every week a new IM client was coming out again, right?
Well, we talked about that 2 weeks ago too, and then last week a new one came out. Why is there? There's not another one, is there?
We're gonna keep that IM train rolling along here. Google. Now this is kind of not exactly a new instant messaging client, but it is along the lines of that Amazon Chime. There seems to be a real push to this enterprise sort of messaging solution, and now Google, which we stream our show on Google at Diego Dev, we have established Google Hangouts that everybody knows to go to for meetings and to talk through things. We use Google Hangout extensively, actually. Google is announcing a new version of Hangout, maybe. It's called Meet. And this actually solves some of the problems we have internally right now when we use Google Hangout. The biggest, so the idea behind Meet, again, we're like Chime, kind of like GoToMeeting, where you can do presentations through it, that sort of stuff. The one feature I saw with Google Meet that has me interested is that you can establish a phone number for external people to call into.
Really?
I think I was, I think I was telling you, Thomas, that as a consulting group, one of the things John and I typically have to do is settle on what platform a client uses that we can have meetings with them, because everybody's we're virtual, everybody's remote. So we've used Skype in the past, we've used Hangouts, and sometimes John and I will Skype and then we call somebody over a phone line. So there's all these mix and match sort of solutions. And now with Google Hangout, bada bing, bada boom, we establish a Hangout and people can call into the Hangout with a regular phone if they want, or they can dial in with their computer. I'm looking forward to this one. We have a business account and I've been checking to see if it's there for us to enable yet, and it hasn't been there yet, but I'm hoping it is available soon.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to pivoting this podcast to a call-in show.
That's a good idea. Speaking of Google launching, did you see what they did with YouTube TV?
Oh, I am excited.
Wait, what happened?
They've got a new narrow band service coming out for like $35 a month. You can get your local stations, and you can pick and choose the channels you want.
What?
It's a DVR service too. So
yeah,
not all the information is out.
Unlimited.
Yeah, so Dish did a similar thing when they launched what did they call it? Slappy, sticky.
Hopper.
No. Oh,
I say
jeez.
I have a Dish Hopper, but I mean that's just like what was it called? TiVo? No, not
Sling.
TiVo. Sling. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dish, which acquired the company Slingbox, is now selling Sling DVR, which is basically live TV streamed over your current internet access. It's got a lot of drawbacks. There's a lot of content that you can't store for later purposes. There's content that you can't
Hmm.
skip ads. You don't get control over it as if you were actually paying for something.
So that is a separate service from their Dish service with Sling.
Right. So
Because
Sling is
that's what
just
I have.
yeah, Sling is a cord cutter service that they provide. So if you don't want to buy into the whole 250 channels, then you can just get the important 10 channels. So
Hmm.
it's interesting. YouTube is coming into the market and saying we want to do the same thing. Their announcement didn't have any specific details on things like content or broadcast flag, or if you could record live sports events, which Sling does not allow you to do. They did say that anything you record is stored for 90 days, and it comes with a 6-user pack.
Mhm.
Wow.
So you get 6 different accounts tied to the service, which that's super handy. I mean, I don't want any of my kids' DVR crap on my feed because they watch
That's
garbage.
pretty cool. I've got to check that out. I do the whole. I've got the Amazon Prime where I have the videos there. I've got Hulu. I paid for
Hulu,
Hulu for a while. Um, yeah,
Netflix.
yeah, Netflix. But
Yeah,
the
no, one
problem
of
with
the
all those is you don't get your local stations.
right, and actually YouTube contracted with a bunch of local stations so that specifically if you're in Colorado Springs, you get Colorado Springs version of the news or
Hmm.
San Diego news or whatever your location is. Um, but part of that does lead into the fact that this is a per metropolitan area release. This is not rolling out nationwide instantly.
Mhm.
So, but it does include the YouTube Red subscription. So if you pay for the TV service, you get the YouTube version of original content paid for by YouTube.
But it won't be the same as YouTube Red. Like
No, it is.
one of the nice things with YouTube Red is not having to watch the ads on the videos and
I believe it's a tied in thing. I think you get the full YouTube Red subscription and the
so yeah.
TV subscription. But
Well,
we'll
so
see.
my question is, I pay for Google Music, which gets me YouTube Red for free. I wonder if that's going to get tied in any way. That would be awesome. I would, because I've been going back and forth whether or not I want to keep paying for Google Music. I seem to jump around between Google Music, Spotify, and then I'll just drop all of them and just listen to Amazon Prime Music for a while, which now they have an additional tier that you can pay for. But if paying for Google Music got me YouTube TV, because I don't really watch YouTube Red, but if it got me YouTube TV,
there's a couple of
that
good shows on YouTube Red.
that's a game changer for me. Really, what do you think is good on YouTube Red, John? Because I haven't found anything.
Most of it's garbage, but I've been enjoying Minefield.
Yeah,
Mindfield
that was the one I was thinking of too.
from Vsauce. There's something about the way that guy talks. I really enjoy his content.
Okay.
Him and Adam Savage are getting together.
Brain Candy Live. I still want to
Yeah.
see that.
It's not coming to Colorado. It's skipping
And
Colorado, the state completely.
they are coming to San Diego, I believe, and I wanted to go, but I don't remember
Yeah.
what was going on.
I really enjoyed listening to Adam Savage tease Michael about his it's- it's-
All right,
His
come on. We
what?
got some more news.
we got more news.
One more thing on YouTube Red. Rhett and Link. Love their stuff too. Watch their YouTube Red.
I got
What's
very
it called?
tired of them.
Rhett and Link buddy system. If you don't watch Good Mythical Morning, they've got a great podcast or a great YouTube show.
They
That's
have a
fun.
great morning show, but
Yeah.
it turned very, very sponsored content over the last year, and I got
Yeah.
real tired of it.
I don't watch
I'm
it every day.
out of the
but-
loop with this YouTube Red. My kids are talking about YouTube Red. I guess they have shows that they watch on it. So I've
A
popped
lot
on
of
a few
it-
times. I can't find
I can see a
anything.
lot of the shows being more towards kids. It's
Well, I know that for my kids, YouTube has functionally replaced television. I mean, there's enough content on there that's highly produced, well written, and consumable that it doesn't make sense to watch Law and Order season 12 Special Victims Computer Crimes. There's better stuff, and it's free. News.
News.
This is just a new thing that's coming in Laravel. I wanted to bring it up because I thought it was cool. There's a new Blade directive being introduced into Laravel called include when.
and what does include when do?
I'm glad you asked. So include when just basically states a true or false when something needs to be included. So previously, if you wanted to have a nav bar show up if a user was logged in, you had to create an if user logged in, include nav view, end if. Which 3 lines to include something is just a little too much in a view template. So now it's simply include when, give the conditional, and then give the view name. So you can chain these up pretty nicely and say, include when user's logged in, include when user isn't logged in, or you can use permissions systems to do stuff. So in your view, you can have links to restricted or unrestricted access pages, admin tools that are set up for junior admins, things like that. So it's not a massive change, but taking those 3 lines and bringing them down to 1 line could be helpful for a lot of views in administrative tools or systems
It just it'll make it easier to read. That's
Yeah.
the big thing.
So that's nice. I don't even know what version of Laravel this is going to be packing with. I assume 5.4.
Well, we're on 5.4, so maybe one of the releases.
The article implies that it's already in the current version, so I don't know when it did come in, but it looks like it's currently available.
Yeah, I just tried launching a 5.4. I not tried. I just launched a 5.4 install to do some coding, so I'll have to take a look at that. Sounds like fun.
So
My expectations of fun are pretty low at this point, really. Next, how about some stupid patents?
oh
Thomas?
God, how do you guys feel about software patents?
Pain in the ass.
Yeah.
It depends on what it's for, obviously. I mean, if it's something revolutionary, maybe you deserve it, but
Exactly. That's how I feel about it. It's like if it's something really earth-shattering, change the way things are done, yeah, okay, maybe you deserve a patent. But I've seen people just come up with some pretty weird patents.
Wasn't there a patent on like HTML forums where somebody was sending out cease and desist letters to people
Yeah,
because they had a
Still
form on their
happening.
website?
Still happening.
What?
Yeah, that's still a currently valid patent.
It wasn't that the big thing with GIFs as well, right? Was it GIF or JPEG? JPEGs, maybe.
No, it was GIF.
It was GIF?
It was GIF, yeah. GIF was owned by CompuServe.
So which patent do you have for us today?
Oh boy, this is a good one. You know, the EFF, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, these are guys
Big
interested
fan.
in net neutrality.
Big-
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of them.
Big fan. Mm-hmm.
So they dug this one up that that the U.S. Patent Office on January 17th gave a patent to IBM for the out of office email auto reply. So
Hold on.
if you
So the workflow of a out of office auto reply, or just like somebody wrote an out of office auto reply and patented that?
according to Figure 3, a start date, an end date, and an availability indicator message.
You stop it. You stop it.
Swear to God,
It's the email itself? The format of the email?
The
when
format
you're setting it up, when you're setting up a autoresponder.
Yeah, the format. Yeah, the format of having a I'm leaving X and returning Y, and this is a patent that was filed in 1998.
Hey, those guys over IBM, they don't have a lot of time for anything important anymore. Apparently, they need to get these auto reply email patents out of the way.
Now, to be clear here, this is the company that made Watson, the artificial intelligence system that is beating people at Jeopardy.
Well, now he has a way to let people know when he's on vacation. He can send a patented auto reply.
Yeah, so in response to the EFF's article about how stupid this is, IBM has thankfully stated that it has decided to dedicate the patent to the public.
So
you are still allowed to set up and use an out-of-office email auto-reply system. But boy, that is stupid. I can't even imagine the person at the patent office who was just like, oh yeah, that sounds about right, and then just stamped
that's
it.
the thing that kills me. Is like, what is the thought process with these people signing off on these patents? And is it just like one clerk in an office somewhere, or does this go in front of a board? Because some of the stuff. Here's a silly thing. I'm originally from Maryland, and we have an accent.
Silly. That is.
We have an accent in Maryland, and we have a way of speaking, especially when you get to places like Baltimore. In Baltimore, there's a very common phrase that said, "Hey, hun." Everybody says it. "Hey, hun." It's how you talk to people. Somebody patented that phrase, "Hey, hun," and every time anybody in Baltimore tried to put it on a shirt, she went after them with a cease and desist order. And it's just like, how is that possible? What's his name? Pat Riley for the Lakers patented three-peat when he was, I think, when he was coaching the Lakers, because they were getting ready to win their third championship in a row, and so he had patented the word three-peat. It's like, how's that? How can you patent a word or words? I mean,
well, trademark,
book, maybe
trademark, but still. In effect, the same thing.
Yeah.
Ridiculous restriction on. Yeah. Hey, there's worse. Edge is a game company that tried to trademark the word edge. But fortunately, they failed on that one, since Edge magazine, which was a gaming magazine, existed. I'm sorry, Edge magazine was filing. Either way, yeah, this stuff is stupid. I hate it. It's not stupid.
Let's talk about something not so stupid.
I don't do the Docker environment. I know you.
So I asked you earlier who still use Homestead, because I myself have really cut back on my Homestead utilization, where it used to be my primary development environment. I moved to Docker for development. I did that for a while. Full disclosure, I don't use it for everything anymore for development. I don't use Homestead either. But I am more and more a Docker fan. I see the benefits, especially, again, if you want to play with different versions. We are actually taking on a client very soon.
Actually, already signed. They're already taking them on.
Who has their entire environment deployed on Docker, are using Docker.
Production.
So
production.
production.
Ooh. Well, this is good news for them then.
Let's hear it.
Docker Enterprise Edition and the Docker Certification Program.
Another certification program.
This is not a person certification. This is not certifying you. This is certifying Docker extensions. So you know, in the way that WordPress is a hot dumpster fire because of its plugin system, Docker appears to be trying to avoid that by having certified extensions that they have personally reviewed to prevent, combustible Docker instances. There's a lot of concerns when it comes to Docker and security. Whenever you see really heated conversations about the uses of Docker in production, it does come down to security.
Yeah, I know. When I did my talk at the PHP user group a few months back, I did it on Docker and using it for development, and eventually the discussion or questions led to using it in production. And we had a person there who was very experienced with Docker, a lot of knowledge, especially around file systems and permissions and things like that. And yeah, he was throwing up all sorts of red flags about it and the concerns and some of the things that the community is looking to address with running Docker in production.
Yeah, so there's definitely concerns, but now you've got certified containers, certified plugins, things like that. You also have the Enterprise Edition, which is going to be providing tools for managing Docker farms, tools for doing enterprise level management of images and containers and all that stuff. So it's really just a tool set that will sit on top of what's now called the Community Edition. And of course you done, John? Playing with your microphone?
I didn't want to cough into the microphone, so I muted.
You muted into the microphone. Nice loud clicks on that mute button.
Not my fault.
I think we're wearing on Thomas's nerves here.
So the LTS, the LTS that we always talk about here is one of the big things with enterprise groups, and of course, I think Docker is getting into that business. Now, we all know that Docker and Microsoft are friendly, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would venture a guess that Docker is preparing to be acquired. They're introducing some very Microsoft terminology in these product lines, and they're clearly vying for a higher market value as opposed to simply product value. They're making themselves fungible.
I mean, I don't think I have a problem with that, actually.
Well, I don't either.
I mean, VMware was able to. That was my biggest concern with VMware, and I think it pretty much mirrors Docker as well today. So, where I'm getting at is when I saw VMware, I didn't think the biggest thing that concerned me was gambling on a company that their entire business model was on this one virtualization product that they had. And when I was responsible for enterprise, that was concerning to me because I didn't know if they had what it was going to take to last. Now, I think VMware ended up getting bought by Citrix, right? Didn't VMware get bought?
VMware got bought by Sun, I thought.
No, not Sun, because Sun had containers, which actually became Docker, but that's another story. No, VMware got bought by somebody, I forget who, but it didn't happen when I was evaluating them and ultimately ended up implementing it. But it's tough. It's tough to survive.
Dell?
No, not really Dell.
Yeah, Dell.
I think I'm pretty sure Citrix factored in there somewhere, somehow. I forget. But anyways, it's pretty hard to survive in this day and age as a one-trick pony sort of company. And getting acquired by somebody like Microsoft is not necessarily a bad thing for something like Docker. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I
somebody
think
like Microsoft. I mean, Microsoft has a lot to gain from it as well. They're from all we can tell, they're trying to get away from Windows. Which
that might be speculation, but I mean, it does help. It does give something like Docker that enterprise muscle to forge forward, to kind of do some more riskier product ideas and do some experimenting on things, not necessarily releasing it, but giving them that funding that could be challenging to come by if you're a company off by yourself. So
yeah,
that's good. I would be happy to see. I would be happy to see Microsoft purchase Docker or any big company like that. I guess it's
I don't see Microsoft as the big baddie anymore. I think they're
don't let your guard down
ways.
too quick. Don't let your guard down too quick. But yeah, they've been doing a lot. They've slowly been working their way back into good graces with the IT community, and it's good to see. I'm not going to switch over to Microsoft anytime soon, but I won't slam them. I'm not going to slam them.
You just talked about buying a license so you can install it in a virtual machine.
I did buy a license. Actually.
Called out. Jesus.
I bought my first Microsoft license in so many, and I honestly tried to work around it. Like, they're like these free VMs of Microsoft you can run for a limited time, and like my parents will have my mom would have a problem with their desktop, and I used to be able to walk people through desktop issues on Microsoft, just talking them through it without even opening up my laptop. I could talk them through it. I can't do that anymore. And my mom would have an issue, and I'm like, I have no idea where that setting is, Mom. I have no idea how to fix it. And so yeah, I bought a Microsoft license, so I would have a Microsoft VM, and we recently brought on a developer who was having issues with his Microsoft environment, trying to get some development stuff done, and nobody had any tools to test to help him with his problems or to test other solutions. So yeah, broke down and bought a Microsoft license.
That was a Trump era backpedal. I will never.
How's it?
I won't be going to Microsoft anytime soon. Sir, I understand you just bought a license. Listen, there are people out there who need support, and
huge.
I have to be.
Huge.
Yeah.
No, no. Having a Microsoft VM instance. Listen, I know
Thomas is right.
have a Microsoft
Thomas is right.
desktop, buddy.
Calm down, Spicer. You're getting red-faced.
Oh man, we were talking about that today.
I use that whole Microsoft has changed too much. I can't help you to my benefit. I'm sorry, nothing I can do.
To get out of helping people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we were talking earlier about how John and I have had a couple rough days, and it actually kind of made last week not seem so bad anymore.
Was that last week or was that earlier this week?
Wait, what's the day? Today's Thursday. Oh, you're right. It was this week, huh? It was Monday.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was Monday.
Amazon. My God, this is funny.
You ever type one of those commands for like delete from table and forget the where clause?
Yes.
Ask GitLab about that. I think they have. We sit there and tout the cloud. We sit there and tout having, use S3. You'll have 20 versions of your files saved in multiple locations, but it'll be transparent to you, and the file will always be accessible. We have entire companies, entire businesses, including some of our clients, that are dependent, absolutely dependent on Amazon Web Services. And man, oh man, did the internet have a bad week this week?
Wow. So Amazon went down, AWS went down on the West Coast,
S3.
and it,
yeah.
On the East Coast, right?
I thought it was US West. Either way, large chunks of the internet just sort of disappeared for a while, which
Well, funny thing is,
all of us in the IRC channel, we're talking about this nonstop. They had hosted their indicator icons for their status page on their own servers, so their icons were all still showing up as green
Mhm.
because the red icon couldn't be found. I mean, that's the level
So-
of screw up this was. This and even better, this was a typo. Somebody was bringing down a set of servers for maintenance and just whoops an extra zero and
Well,
brought all of them.
It was a typo. It was a typo in a playbook. My understanding of it is they were copying and pasting from an established playbook, and the typo was actually in there. So it's
Oh,
not even like the
God.
developer typed in the wrong thing. So
The funny
You
thing
know
is-
it's bad when half the internet crashes and you have to fire your copy editor.
I'm sitting there with Eric, and he's telling me that there's an issue, and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he's looking at the S3 buckets, and they're gone.
Yeah, everything's just gone.
He tells me he's freaking out. I'm like, why? And all of our buckets are gone. We're immediately like looking in IM who's logged in. It was only him and one other developer. I'm like, he had to have deleted them by mistake. Is there any way you could like check them all off and just hit delete? So I'm blaming us, and because Amazon, because of those status icons all showing green, I'm like, there's no issue.
Well,
Yeah.
when it initially happened, so we had a client that was hosting a website. You can host websites on S3, and they were hosting a website on S3, and we were monitoring the website, and we get an alert in Slack that the site is down. And I'm like, that's stupid. That's an S3 bucket. It can't be down. So I'm clicking on it. I'm like, that's weird. It's not responding. So I open up S3. I'm like, huh, that's strange. There are no S3 buckets. And I'm
None.
taking the Slack to the other developers. I'm like, listen, guys, I'm not trying to freak out here. I'm checking Twitter. Nobody's talking about it. I checked AWS status page. Everything's green. But when I go to S3, I don't see any buckets. So before I really start freaking out, can somebody just go in there and confirm that they're able to see the buckets? And my main developer replies back, dude, they're gone. I'm like, okay, I'm freaking out, man. I'm freaking out. And like I said, when it initially happened, and we're seeing all this, nobody's talking about it on Twitter. Nobody is talking. I mean, AWS status page is not changing, and I'm like, oh my god, we just destroyed this client because there's so much stuff in S3 for this client. I'm like, we just destroyed this client, and then finally,
You know,
I
you
start
should,
to
you
see-
should you should back up their data on the cloud.
I start to see some tweets come in. I'm like, okay, it's not just us. It's not just us. And then finally, everything starts to formulate. I'm like, oh my goodness. And the funniest thing about it was we're on Slack. I'm explaining to the client what's happened. I take a screenshot of the Amazon environment and I put it in Slack, and the screenshot wouldn't upload because Slack uses S3 to host the files. I'm like, ah!
You know, I told my wife about this. I told my kids about it. They had no idea. I told them, "Hey, did you know half the internet was down the other day?" No, it wasn't half. It wasn't half I used.
It wasn't the good half. It's fine.
Yeah, it was the business half. I think it affected a lot of work stuff. What the?
What was that, John?
John, you are just a bundle of noises today.
my baby monitor battery needs to be plugged in.
It's a good thing the baby monitor makes a nice loud beep. Won't wake anyone up with that.
Oh my goodness! I'm gonna.
Yeah, no, it took down a lot of businesses, took down a lot of people. Amazon didn't apologize profusely was the one reaction I saw to their explanation of what happened, which was shit happens and you still have to use us. So did
All right,
find that interesting.
we're at an hour here, and we haven't hit any
We're
Tom real doom and gloom yet. Do you? Do you have anything
doom
for
and
us?
gloom. Are you guys scared?
I'm terrified.
No.
Just a looming dread. I've gotten real anxious lately about Facebook and government monitoring and what you put out there and how it comes back to you. Things are weird. I mean, if you look at big data and the fact that we're collecting far more than we can use, and that has created an industry of people who are just figuring out how to use big data. You know, I've told you the story about when Target identified a girl as being pregnant before her father knew.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting closer and closer to wanting to go dark on the internet. You know, remove Facebook, put tape over the cameras, break the microphones,
Wear a
that kind of
tinfoil hat.
stuff. All they make is a tinfoil trilby, and I want an actual fedora. But everyone looks at a trilby and they're like, "That's a fedora," and I'm like, "No." Anyways, tinfoil doesn't work. You have to use a cage. I see stuff out there and I just look at it and go, Jesus Christ, that's terrifying. That and everyone I know who is in programming in IT has the same general dread of like, I know what I'm doing and I'm still doing it, but I know what I'm doing. I know that I'm selling my information for free, quote unquote, services. I mean, you guys know that. You know how Facebook monetizes.
So you want to hear something funny about this story, Thomas? I haven't read this article yet because I have ad blockers and JavaScript blockers and tracker blockers. I use Ghostly and all these things on my browser. And when I go to this page, it pops up. It won't let me read it because I'm using an ad blocker. So it wants me to log in or create an account to read it, they can track me. I'm like, I just leave those sites behind. I just chalk them up as, okay, well, I can't use this site because they won't let me stay private on it.
You don't know about ad blockers pro ad initiative?
Is this related to your story? Because we're long on time here, so
we're awesome on time. Thank you.
I'm not aware of any pro ad initiative anywhere. No.
Ad blocker is bad. Uninstall it and install uBlock Origin. That's my just quick update on that. Okay. This is a story about Kevin Mitnick, who you guys might know as the world's most famous hacker, which is, generally speaking, not a title that you want as a hacker. But he's famous because he did a lot of crazy shit in the 90s that it really set the standard for what a hacker is in the public eye. Now he works as a consultant, and he has just written a book called The Art of Invisibility. The world's most famous hacker teaches you how to be safe in the age of Big Brother and big data. What's interesting to me is the fact that we have, as a society, openly acknowledged that this is the age of Big Brother, and we're kind of just shrugging about it. Because, like, 1984, the book that created the concept of Big Brother, was terrifying. People read it and were like, oh my God, this is a living nightmare, but thankfully it'll never happen. And now we constantly reference things as being Big Brother, and we are somewhat indifferent to it, generally speaking. As long as it's not literally a television set that's installed in our home that has a picture of a person telling us what we can and can't do, we're okay with it. But like, we are in the era of Big Brother. We're in a post-cyberpunk society where
Right.
our information is gathered by our own appliances
Yeah,
and sold.
yeah, I agree with you, and I mean, and people benefit from it as well. I'm not advocating it, but I know for myself, it's you know, I do like going to Amazon and seeing recommendations for the geek things that I commonly look for, as opposed to you know, advertisements for feminine products or something that I would never buy or never have a need to buy. Um, so that's and that's always the spin these corporations put on it. We're trying to make your life existence more convenient. That's why they do all this tracking. That's why, and that's not true. We know it's not true, but people
No.
are willing to make that trade-off for a little convenience, for a little discount. Oh, I don't have to pay full price at this grocery store. If I'm a club member, I get 10% off. It's like, why? It's yeah, I agree. I don't see it changing anytime soon.
We are the tech heads. We are the people who know the technology and can use the technology and can push the technology. And this this article, the necessity of this book to exist, let alone to be something for the average person, when Kevin Mitnick is writing for the average user, something is wrong. So we need to be the trendsetters with things. Now, we have free encryption services or free SSL certificate services that we started using, things that are becoming more and more commonplace. Even the most basic website should have HTTPS, because why wouldn't you? But I think we need to push harder on that. I think you said tinfoil hat, and my issue is that tinfoil hat is now a dismissive statement. Is that when I start telling some of my friends who are not in the tech industry about what I know about how big data works and how businesses are collecting and using this data, they say, "You really got a tinfoil hat there." I say, "No, I don't. I am simply aware of the information that's out there." And I start sympathizing with conspiracy theorists who get brushed aside, but
Well, that's
yeah,
that's the thing
it's
I
bad.
always tell people, and especially kids on these social media sites who will tell you, "Oh, I use this platform because I'm anonymous." I'm like, "Kid, listen to me. I code. You are not anonymous. I can grab so much information and identify exactly who you are, when you are, and who you're talking to." We, as the developers and the gods of this environment we're in, we can do so much evil. It's not even, people just can't wrap their heads around it. Every keystroke you type on a web page, if I'm a bad person, and I'm not talking about a hacker, I'm talking about the developer of that website. If I wanted to capture that stuff, I could. It's People just don't have can't comprehend how bad things can possibly get. So
That's one of my favorite stories from back in 2003, 2004. Talking to the CEO of the company, and they asked me if I could redirect payments. I'm like, yes, if I could easily substitute my merchant account credentials in, or whatever the case may be, and that freaked them out. It's like, what do you expect? I mean,
How do you think you get the money?
exactly.
It's by my good graces, damn it. You're lucky to have me. Have you ever been asked to do anything morally questionable by a company?
Outside of that, selling medication online. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I
that's
suppose
what's
so.
going on at that company.
I have been in the adult industry for a while, and I'm very thankful now to be at a company that is reputable and would never even imagine some of the immoral stuff that the smaller companies do. But I can tell you that if your credit card gets stolen and you call in and have your credit card number changed and get a new card issued, there is a command I can send to your bank to just request the new card number and continue charging to the new card number without your permission. And I can tell you that I've been asked to implement systems like that and had to say no.
Yeah.
And we as programmers put thought into practice. We're executing other people's ideas in almost every case. I mean, there are developers who work wholly for themselves, but in most cases, we're putting other ideas into implementation. And we have a very morally grounded job. We have a job where we have to make decisions about whether or not this is the right way to do things or the wrong way to do things, but we can also be put in very immoral situations. And being in this situation of, being in this position of power makes you aware of the fact that there are other people in the same position of power who are not making the choices you would make morally.
Mm-hmm. Scary stuff.
This has been Tom's Painted Black hour.
I posted on Twitter. I watched a movie over the weekend, and it's funny. My kid has been telling me about this movie for a while. But she's like, "Dad, you've got to watch this movie. You would love it." And the reason I had procrastinated watching it is because it's in German. The whole movie's in German. She's like, "Just turn on subtitles on YouTube. You can turn on subtitles, and they'll put them up in English." I'm like, man, that's not appealing to me. Watching a movie and then reading what's being said is not something I rarely actually watch a movie. I usually have it like in the background while I'm doing something else. So that was going to require too much attention, and I had procrastinated for a long time. And so something had come across my desk where it got me thinking about it. I'm like, all right, let me go check this movie out. And the movie's called I can't pronounce it in German. My daughter does such a great job with it, and I should have had her come in here and do it. But in English, it translates to "No system is safe." And I posted this on my Twitter. So if you're listening to this and you follow me, Shokum on Twitter, just go through my feed. You'll see it in there. It's called "No System is Safe," and it has another name of "Who Am I?" So I don't know if the English version title is "Who Am I?" and the German version is "No System is Safe" or what, but look for both of them. You can find it on YouTube. It's a very Mr. Robot sort of movie. Like you watch it. When I watched it, I'm like, oh yeah, this reminds me of Mr. Robot big time. But great movie. And it talks a lot about the hacker community, and it really kind of gets into like some of the niche things, like things hackers do just to impress their fellow hacker and just to get some sort of acknowledgement from another hacker in the community that maybe they're trying to impress. And it's a really good movie. If you haven't seen it, you have the time to sit there and read subtitles, or if you happen to know German, check it out. It's on YouTube. I watched it on YouTube. I assume it was a legal copy. I couldn't read it. It was all in German, so... But the full movie is on YouTube and several channels, and it's a good watch. Thomas, I think you would like it. John, I think you'd appreciate it as well.
I'll be watching this very soon.
Yeah, great movie. All right, well, we are really deep at 114, almost 115 right now. So I think we're gonna need to call this a show.
Now, if you don't like my doom and gloom segment, then you're on board with Eric. Eric does not like my doom and gloom segment, so I'll be starting a Patreon.
Don't bully me.
I'll be starting,
and I participate in your doom and gloom.
If you want to support my doom and gloom, I will have a Patreon page where you can donate to doom and gloom.
Are you going to do your own podcast, Tom's Doom and Gloom?
Nah, it's just going to slowly infect this one.
We get a lot of people tweet and find me on Slack, and and usually one of their top questions is about Tom and if you live in one of those underground bunkers somewhere.
Well, my house is a 2-level, so it is technically half underground.
Thomas. All right, we are at episode 51. Next episode 52, which ideally we'll do next week, would represent a full year. Although it's not a full year. I went back and looked. Our first show recording was, I think, March 19th. So somewhere we doubled up, but
or
next
somebody
week
forgot how to count. That's always an option.
Next week we'll have episode 52 done. So we should do something special.
All doom and gloom.
Oh, jeez.
You know I
Killing me,
could do
Smalls.
it. You wouldn't
Killing
even
me,
have to
Smalls. I
show
know
up.
you
I'll
can
host
do
the
it.
whole thing. All right, ladies and gentlemen. This has been
Episode
PHP
52,
Ugly.
51.
This has
PHP
been
Ugly
fun.
episode 51. I'm Tom Rideout.
I'm Eric
I'm
Van
John
John.
Congan. Ha!
Keep it ugly.
Keep it ugly.
Oh, is that the new thing? Keep it ugly.
The new thing? You
are-
seriously don't listen.
I'm just
been the
killing
new
me.
thing-
Why do we
it's been the new
invite
thing
this
for-
guy?
A year.
What happened to use a password manager? That was a thing at one point.
I did that last week. If you'd listened, I said use
I
a
don't
password
listen.
manager instead of
Actually,
Keep It Ugly because
you
you had to
didn't-
reset your passwords.
We got called out on that, Thomas. You didn't say it.
Oh shit!
You didn't say it in our buddies over at Laravel News and North Meets South podcast. Michael Durant. Damn, I almost had his name.
That's a weird name.
Yeah, the chick on Laravel News says it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can remember that. Dorinda, the Australian. He called us out and says, hey, you guys were talking about this, and you never mentioned a password manager. I'm like,
God,
fuck. This is what happens when John doesn't join us.
we're failures. That's all
We
there is
are.
to it.
We are really
failures.
bad at our job.
All right, I'm
All
gonna
right,
kill my
I'm stopping the
recording.
broadcast.
All right, bye.